Chalo, started. So,
You.
hi Amitu, how's it going?
Yeah, going well. Coding.
Coding. So,
Yes.
so I'll basically start with what is it? Okay. So the idea behind this is to share any interesting idea or insight, okay, or say piece of art also. Uh, we have come across or maybe मतलब we have pondered upon, okay, uh, and have some discussion around it, okay. So basically things don't miss out, right? We share also and we retain also, right? So idea is that मतलब we'll keep it casual, no nothing like that ki we have to do something or something, okay.
So,
So yeah, so I'll start with two things. One is basically I came across this thing called Bechdel test, okay. It's a simple way to measure the representation of women in films and fiction. So the test has just three rules. Okay, very simple rules. A movie must have at least two women who have a conversation and about something other than a man. Okay, so very basic, right? But what's actually fascinating is how many movies actually fail this test, right? And while we talk about gender equality and stuff like that, right? It reflects how a society is basically uh, मतलब I don't know, patriarchal
right.
probably.
Complete patriarchy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I think that. Well, it's very interesting to think about like that.
right.
Yeah. Uh, so other thing was, so this was one. The other thing was, so there was this discussion going on in one of the book clubs I'm part of, and they were talking about this quote from Leo Tolstoy, also known as Anna Karenina principle, which says all happy families are alike, and each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. ठीक है. ठीक है. Basically, it means that failure can happen for many reasons, right? But for success to happen, all the necessary
Yeah,
conditions have to be met. There can't be any major deficiencies, basically, right? And this
right.
applies in many areas like project management, medicine, XXX. So this is simple, right? So, but the discussion kind of got hijacked when someone brought up the idea that melancholy is often celebrated and that happiness, like unhappiness, has many shades, right? So, and basically the quote is oversimplifying things, right? So, but I think that's a separate conversation altogether, right? We are not talking about happiness as a shade or not, right? But this got me thinking that how do you actually define a happy family? मतलब हाउ कैसे करोगे सो बट आई थिंक तो बेसिक तो जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट हो गई सेलिब्रेटिंग बोथ सक्सेस एंड फेलियर्स ठीक है हैविंग इनफ रिसोर्सेज फॉर स्टेबिलिटी एंड कंटेंटमेंट फलाना फलाना राइट सो बेसिक थिंग्स बट अगेन आई थिंक this is also I'm simplifying things but again this is very deep and probably very complex topic we can deep dive
Right.
into some of the time but yeah I think interesting things to ponder upon.
Yeah. No, actually, this last topic, family and stuff, is keep discussing all of those. How to raise a kid based like what kind of. So this is really deep topic. But yeah, talking about stuff like I recently saw that movie, right, Captain America, and I feel like it has been criticized a lot, and I have been like a huge fan of the movie. It's like I actually saw it twice, like back to back, almost like this one today and then the next day only. It was really so one of the reasons it got criticized is because of its name. It's called Captain America: Brave New World, and Brave New World is like a dystopian novel about government becoming too powerful and infringing upon uh, basic stuff, right? Like actually, Brave New World is about some other science fiction dystopia, but people were like talking about how 1984, the Wonder Woman movie, again, like it was again a book about so much, right? Like how the whole world is kind of getting. And but the movie had nothing to do with 19. In the movie, 1984 was just the year that she just happened to be. Like it had nothing to do. No political commentary was there.
Correct.
So people are criticizing it. They're latching on to the same point with Brave New World also. You took such a big this thing, and especially with a black, Captain America. There's obviously this whole U.S. racial whatever tension that is there. a white person, or rather red president, kind of, right, becoming a president, right? So it was all felt like people kind of feel like had an expectation about some sort of political commentary and feel like there was no commentary at all. It was a very straightforward revenge story or whatever, right? So it felt people were put off. But I feel like this was brilliant writing. So it's actually a spoiler, so I don't know how do we discuss that. But let's
I'll just
like
put it.
I'm going to discuss that, right? Like I'm saying, basically the the movie was extremely meta. The name of the movie, it was extremely meta. That I believe like a whole. I've read every Reddit thread about this, and no one has discussed this. So I really want to. I very strongly believe that key. The writers of the movie were really brilliant and making a very massive commentary. There were two scenes that I want to emphasize. So one was, if you've seen the movie, it's a straightforward comic book movie with some villain doing villain stuff and hero doing hero stuff, and with zero government outreach, with zero any of political commentary bit. But in the process, there were two scenes. So one black guy who was in jail for 30 years, not for being black, but for other reasons, because he had some powers and government was doing experiments on people with power, etc. Standard superhero like the Hulk was prosecuted by government. But he was somehow implicated in one crime, and the Captain America, who was himself black, went to jail, and there was a dialogue between the two of them about Captain America trying to save that black guy, because the black guy was like he was very traumatized. He spent 30 years in jail. Somehow he's come out of it. He's very lonely and very no family, nothing is left, and somehow he again gets trapped and back to the jail, and he was sure that he will never come out of jail, out of his, like that itself you can say is a slightly political commentary about how America is actually putting black people in jail and they're just spending their lives there. But the most weird part was Captain America was promising that guy, hey, I will try to save you, and that guy said absolutely not. This was very weird to me, and this was the weirdness or the awesomeness of the writer was this, that why did that guy say, don't try to save me? Because if Captain America, who is a black guy, somehow gets associated with a guy who is in prison, uh, you know, so somehow it is obvious to everyone who is sitting in the audience that the Captain America will lose their Captain America title. So it is great thing for blacks that there is a black Captain America. And they are really worried about the fact that the Captain America will lose the Captain America title for what crime? For trying to save an innocent man. Right? Think this is a very big political commentary happening that, I mean, blacks have to really show like they have to really be good. Otherwise, they'll just, no matter how good they are, the slightest whatever what do you call dhabba, whatever you call it, right? Like the this thing that can destroy their reputation. And as even Captain America is who has saved America, blah blah, right? Is not immune from that. And same thing happened in the last scene also. Virtually, he was talking to his sidekick, who was a white guy, and they were talking about how there were lots of this thing, but how Captain America, the Sam guy, the black guy, he just cannot rest because he has to constantly be good. He has to constantly prove to the world that a black guy is worthy to be called Captain America. He can't just relax because as soon as he become like normal person, he will be screwed. He just can't think of like the other guy who was a white guy. He was thinking about how cool it would be to fly, right? How he was the white guy was like a innocent guy who was like, yeah, I want to be cool, right? That's why you think you want to be a Captain America or any superhero, that for powers and for flying and for all these fun stuff. Whereas this Captain America is extremely like scared of he has to be really good, otherwise he'll just lose it, etc. So this was in both of these scenes. The important thing is the audience were these two scenes were very important scenes of the movie and kind of had nothing to do with the rest of the movie. Right? If you really see that they are emotionally very strong scenes. They're like two people really sitting and having a heart-to-heart conversation. If you really look at the plot, it has nothing to do with the plot. These are just random scenes. And the audience was assumed that they will obviously agree with that. Obviously, a black guy has to work much harder. Obviously, it's like so the Brave New World was not something that happened in the movie. The Brave New World was about the world that we are living in which the movie is actually released, is the Brave New World, is the political dystopia. We have already reached that stage where, black and white and racism has become a fact of life and we've just accepted it as.
I,
So earlier,
yeah.
I feel just let me finish. Earlier, like if you see Friends, and there was this whole era in which people started believing that maybe the racism is going away. So Brave New World is about okay, we have reached this new world now where racism is obviously going to stay. It is there. It's a fact of life. We stop pretending. The Friends is over, right? The era of Friends and all the sitcoms and all the white family adopting a black kid and all of those random American idealism about how racism is over, that era is over. We have entered a new, brave new world in which racism is a fact of life and nobody gives a shit. President is openly racist and blah, blah. So that's the meta political commentary. I feel they pulled it off because they are operating on a very this thing because they have to make a commercially successful movie and they have to do a commentary. And right now, that kind of commentary in US is suicidal. Right? America is openly hostile to any sort of DI and whatever, right? Any kind of wokeness. So this was very woke, and yet they didn't understand what was woke. And to me, this also very strongly mirrors with that guy, the Super Bowl, the singer. The singer who did a lot of. What is the name of the singer, Ekta? Uh, huh? The singer Super Bowl में जो आया था ना, the rap guy.
अच्छा.
I'm forgetting the. Not like us, huh? Kendrick Lamar. So if you see, he was extremely appreciated by the fact for this thing that they kept on using the same language and words, which completely is political, which is saying something else. But if you listen to the word, you can say, it's not saying all of those political stuff. It is saying something else. But on the face of it, it is showing something very neutral. But actually, if you see, every word means something else. So people who are in the know, that was a brilliance because they actually managed to, because Super Bowl is like the American center of the whatever, right? The
IPL.
So they, exactly. So they managed to bring, and even the president was there, right? Like they managed to do a very pro-black commentary despite appearing like the commentary is black at all or pro-black at all. It just felt like, it's just like this guy just made it, it's just a superhero movie. That guy made it, it's just a song, right? But actually both of them are really doing commentary about the world. And I feel that these two mirror very well, and they're both brilliant people. They should win awards for this. This guy has already won, I believe. Sorry, it was too long.
I have a question. So do you think why good guys should be aware of, let's say, shortcomings of others, or let's say politics of others? Should shouldn't they have that innocent thing? Like for example, मतलब, like for example, if you want to save the person, right, you have to save. Like, how does it matter कि if it's black or white or whatever, right? Like, why should you be aware, right?
See, the thing is, you should not be. If the world was fair and just, and if we were living in that world where it didn't matter, then we would not be living in this dystopian world. But we are living, unfortunately, in a dystopian world where, like, for example, Barack Obama was criticized so much for even wearing a tan suit, right? His crime was to wear a suit which was tan colored. Like, it was, think about it, it's so weird. For, like, why would you criticize someone for that, like, color of the suit? Because and whereas this guy is doing god knows what all sorts of crime, and they are like, good job, right? Like there's no what is called beyond a small internet community of Reddit, etc. If you look at the New York Times to Washington Post, like all of them are just very happy with Trump, whereas all of these very newspapers were actually criticizing why is Trump not Obama wearing.
Yeah. इसी बात में मतलब आई ऑल्सो आई रेड समवेयर कि हिंदूज हैव टू प्रूव देयर सेक्युलरिज्म
Secularism,
एंड मुस्लिम्स हैव टू प्रूव देयर नेशनलिज्म बेसिकली एवरी टाइम. ठीक है.
right?
You won't believe. So nearby my place, there's a temple and उसके जिस बगल में मॉस्क है. ठीक है. 15th अगस्त के दिन. ठीक है. वो मॉस्क के ऊपर पूरे नेशनल फ्लैग्स लगे हुए थे. ठीक है. एंड मतलब टेम्पल तो टेम्पल है. ठीक है. तो मतलब आई वाज लाइक कि हाँ भाई इनको मतलब दे हैव टू प्रूव दैट कंटिन्यूसली. ठीक है.
Right.
सो या
So
एनी
yeah.
रिकमेंडेशंस. मूवी तो आपने बोल दिया एक ब्रेव न्यू वर्ल्ड.
Huh.
एनीथिंग एल्स.
So one was the Tailscale. So Tailscale is a startup, is a company. Basically, they have released a product. This product is based on WireGuard. So WireGuard is a Go package which basically creates sort of like a virtual network. So you can create a virtual network and you can add your laptop, your phone, and so on, right? Like you can add each device, and the devices that are in that network, in that virtual. So normally we have real networks like Wi-Fi or the house router that we have, the LAN cable, etc. Right? So that creates like a LAN, local area network, and the local area network have our n number of machines inside that local area network have higher access to each other than the internet, the wide area network, which is so you worry about security a lot, and the best way to secure is through firewalls. So normally the firewalls that we have is Wi-Fi, right? Like Wi-Fi router or the internet router that you have acts as a firewall, and only very limited outgoing in connections allowed. Outside to inside connections have to be explicitly allowed at the firewall level. You have to go and open it, and that's brilliant thing for us for basic security of people. But Wi-Fi or local area network can only contain devices which are physically in close to each other in your house or in your office or in your college or whatever. Whereas WireGuard slash Tailscale allows you to create a network. You can argue this is a bit like VPN, but VPN model is totally different, where there is a machine and internet, right? And that is a private. How do I say? Through a private, like you don't have n number of machines inside VPN. They are talking to each other. It is theoretically always possible, but it is not the main use case. The main use case of WireGuard is to create like a network. And so basically, you can create a network in which your phone, your laptop, let's say, and your EC2 server is on the same network, right? So if they are on the same network, then you can do stuff like, for example, normally only port 80 and 443 would be open to internet, right? Other ports will not be open, and that's a very, very good idea, right? But if they are part of this other network, you can allow any network. So let's say you're running a Python server on that machine, port 8000, let it be accessible from your phone or from your laptop, right? So that way you are, and they have brilliant features like SSH, where normally when you do SSH to your server, you need to have keys, and keys are huge problem, because if you want someone else to access that server, you will have to share keys with them, or maybe take their keys somehow and put it there. But problem with keys is keys are easy to lose. People don't always encrypt their keys, so keys are sitting on people's laptop unencrypted, right? So if they ever lose the laptop, your server is now going to get compromised. This is a major problem, right? And if you really want, okay, I want to SSH from my phone, it becomes again painful, because then you'll keep your key in your mail or in your WhatsApp. These are poor practices that people end up doing. There probably are better ways to do that, but that's what people end up doing. And so your keys are now on your Google Drive or on your Apple Drive or in your Dropbox or Mail or WhatsApp, which is very, very bad security practice. So these guys actually eliminate keys. So because your device is connected and there is a service running, Tailscale service running on that server. So that has a special, like even when the port 22 is blocked, you can SSH to that, right? Because you're not directly SSHing through the public internet. You're doing it through some special blah blah, right? That's the magical thing that they have created. So, and what you get is two-factor authentication. Let's say if you want to, and you get like GitHub or Gmail authentication. Like for example, let's say if you want anyone who has my Gmail at the fifthright at the rate fifthright.com account, I want any one of them to be able to access my server. And as soon as I remove their Gmail access, let's say they're leaving tomorrow, it should automatically go away. That's a magical thing that you want, and that is trivial to implement with them. And they also have this weird, very weird but very interesting feature called SSH session recording. So if you enable that, you can actually see all the sessions can be fully recorded, and you can. So that's a huge thing, because if you're giving access to people, if you know that somebody is watching it, or all the activities you're doing is getting recorded, all the developers will be on, they will not do anything funny in types, right? Or if they do, it will be easier to investigate and catch it easily. And there are a lot of other features that they have, like for example, you can access your house Wi-Fi. So let's say if you have a printer in your house, so normally you have to go and connect to that exact Wi-Fi. But if you have a device in your house which is connected to this network, so through that network you can. And I in general, I'm a huge fan of anti-cloud direction, right? So I strongly believe that the future, or all the bad of the world right now, if we have racism in the world, if we have to make Brave New World movies, it's because of cloud. It's very weird, because cloud means Twitter. Cloud means that centralization of all. So all our activities right now is WhatsApp, is Instagram. It's all of them get centralized, right? Why is this not on your server, right? So if you were in the RSS world, no single player would have been powerful. RSS world was a distributed world, right? It was, I could subscribe to anyone, and I just have to. Everyone has to have their own domain, and as long as I can crawl their domain, there's no intermediary, no Facebook, there's no central, because the central guys are now using algos to decide what you see and so on. So if you and I believe, like, that's like actually part of the fifth try mission, right? Or whatever. Right now, world pays like $400 billion plus per annum for SaaS license fees, like the monthly annual subscriptions, right? That's huge. And if you look at virtually any successful SaaS company, they operate at some 80-90% plus profit margins on the infra cost, on the not on the research and R&D and whatever people cost. But let's say if you're paying 1,000 rupees to AWS, probably only 100 rupees is what is the actual cost, and 900 rupees is just going to Bezos, who is just deciding who is going to be the next president types, right? So really so I believe you can significantly lower the cost if you can self-host. And I believe the world, like this whole cloud, has basically put this weird like magic trick. You believe that you just can't self-host, and you can totally self-host, and technologies like Tailscale actually enables you to do that, because the main problem is, how will you get IP? You don't get public IPs. So all our servers have IP address. So it's easy for you to connect to any, but how do I connect to your laptop, right? Because your laptop doesn't have an IP address, right? So your laptop could be connected through your phone network, through Wi-Fi. It keeps changing its network, right? So how do I reliably connect to your laptop, right? So that's where this Tailscale kind of solves it. And we actually, as a fifth try, we have we'll probably not use Tailscale, but till the WireGuard protocol, the underlying technology that they're using, and we really want so I believe in future everyone is going to have a box in their house or in their office. That box will be like imagine like a full, like the best GPU that you can think of, 10, 20 TB of
what is that
storage.
called? The NAT, basically storing all your photos
NAS,
and
that is NAS,
NAS, right?
network attached storage. So, but that NAS is like That's a beautiful problem, right? So once you have a server, right, the question is, what operating system is that server running? Right? Because obviously you cannot run Windows or Mac because they are desktop operating systems. So you cannot really convert a desktop. Like if you have a server, AWS, you never install Windows or Mac
Startup
on it,
idea.
right?
You sell a box, this box to everyone. The startup idea, I'm saying.
So that's what Fifth Try's plan is. I'm saying. So basically, if you think about, so the only reasonable choice you have in terms of operating system today is Linux. And unfortunately, Linux is too complex even for you and me to manage a box, right? Like maintaining it for multiple years with installing lots of software. This is just, and especially if it has to be publicly accessible, right? That's the whole point. If you have a server on your, let's say inside Acco or inside any company that you work in or in your house, you want all your mails to live on that server. You want all your photos, you want all your bank accounts, you want all your messages, everything to be on that server. If you want that, and you want to be able to access that from anywhere in the world, because you don't want to be like, okay, I can only access my photos when I'm in my house, right? You want to be on the move. The whole reason cloud is so whatever is because it's accessible from anywhere in the world. So if you have a server which is accessible from anywhere in the world, it better be, and where you're installing a lot of software, where you want, not just you are installing it like a software developer. If you want to give a server to your parents, for example, right, they should be installing software on their own, lot of software. Do you think you can give them Linux? Would they be doing apt-get install or whatever? They can't, right? Linux is really hard to manage, and even a simple, you cannot even have a single, like today, if you look at it, if you have more than one software installed on any server, you typically want to use Docker because you don't know what are like dependency management. Let's say if you want to install some random software, does it require PHP or Python or Rails or Java or Go or Rust or whatever? You can't just install all of them. If you want to install, let's say 10 different or 100 different software, you'll end up you will be forced to pick one or two of these technologies, or you will be forced to pick things like Docker or what is called Kubernetes, which are just nightmare even for developers, right? So this is the world we are living in, where this is the best we have got, and what we have is Fasten. What we have is Swift-Strike. So we are saying that is absolutely horrendous thing. With that, you just cannot have a box in your house. Windows and Mac will just not create suddenly a server operating system, and Linux will not become user friendly. None of those things are happening, and Docker and Kubernetes will just keep becoming more complex. So therefore, we are saying that box should run faster, and all it should run is faster. So I'm basically saying Linux is bad. POSIX, all of those stuff that you heard is bad because it's like consider iPhone, right? On iPhone, you can expect your parents and completely non-techies to install n number of software and live in peace, right? The software is always updated, always things are backed up, data is correctly managed, and user is centrally logged in, and photos are shared by all the application who need photos. Like think about the massive awesomeness iPhone has achieved, and compare that with Linux. It's like you can't even compare them, right? They are like, it's like comparing like monkeys with like Einstein, right? Like that's the massive difference between the ease and the fact that billions of people can actually install arbitrary apps and not get hacked and not whatever, right? Become a DevOps or whatever, right? So that's so Linux is simply not the answer. And obviously iPhone is not the answer, Android is not the answer, Mac is not the answer, Linux, Windows is not the answer. So what is the answer? Right? So that's what I'm saying. So with Fasten, we are saying Fasten is the answer. So you will run Fasten. Fasten is a single process you will run, and all the applications are WASM, right? So they are FTD and WASM. So you get full security because each application has very limited access. You figure out which domains can they talk to, you figure out which tables can they talk to, use query, which kind of query to. So everything is in your control. The way iPhone has, right? iPhone has complete control about do you have access to photos or not? You have access to photos, but in a very restricted way. Only the photos that I allow you, and blah blah. So that's what we are kind of creating. All these apps that we are writing, tomorrow you can run. So like, for example, we have an authentication app. This whole Meet app that you see is an app, right? So we are right now building a sort of like a social media app where you can create updates. And that, by the way, is very interesting because we have tried to solve a problem of, what is the RSS of 2025? So earlier we use RSS, the blog. Every blog used to have RSS feed. The problem with RSS feed was it's a poll based solution. So you're constantly polling. So basically, if you're subscribed to, let's say, you will, like for example, in my case, when I was using Google Reader, I probably had more than 2,000 feeds that I was subscribed to. So if there are 2,000 feeds I'm subscribed to, and even if I check them once an hour, I'm almost making one HTTP request every 2 seconds. And most of these feeds will not have anything new. So even if I'm checking them only once an hour, my battery will get drained, right? If you're making 1 or 2 requests per second constantly. And imagine what will happen to, if all the devices, everyone was making 2 requests per second, and that is only if you have 2,000. And this can go much, like you have probably more than 2,000 friends if you go to LinkedIn and all of those places, and including all the media that you consume, right? So it's not just your friends. You watch not just your friends, but you also watch New York Times and all the
subreddits.
Exactly, all subreddits and WhatsApps and how many chats you have going on, right? Effectively, all of them are. If all of them you do a poll, the poll doesn't work, right? Poll always was a idiotic technology, right? Like for example, if a person writes once a year, and even if you're rechecking their blog once an hour, you are still making 24 into 365 requests for no reason, because you're not going to get any update because that person writes once a year. But you can't poll once a year because then you will be 1 year out of date. This guy has written an article 1 year back and now you're learning, right? So you just can't create like a good balance. And that's why you can say all the social networks have come up because they centralize it. So they can send you a notification. Like look at our stuff, right? Once somebody sends me a message, it almost comes within a few seconds max, right? So you want that responsiveness. Otherwise, it will be a very boring. You just will not be able to implement things like chat and other stuff if you are polling once an hour, right? Once an hour is already extremely. So basically, I'm trying to say that poll is absolutely horrendous. And that again forces you to centralize everything, which is where again Facebook and whatever comes up, which is again where in racism and whatever political, all the bullshit comes up. So the solution to all of that is pull, right? Push. So if I have written an update and I have, let's say, 1,000 followers, I can send an update to each of them from my server. So from my server, I'll be making 1,000 requests, which is not a big problem because I can make even if I'm making 1 request per second, in half an hour also, I will just have made enough requests, like to everyone will know, right? So, and this is like the cheapest, like I'm saying, your phone can do that, right? This is extremely low. So the RSS was written in the world in which, again, there was this problem. Everyone is using a random, it's like Microsoft's genius or Bill Gates' genius of making PC and etc. was the reason we have Trump, basically. It's like just combine all of them because you just assume that Windows means your machine is not accessible, right? Or if it is accessible, it will get hacked. So it better not be accessible. And which basically means you need to have intermediaries like Facebook and WhatsApp and whatever, right? If the machines were accessible, if my server can contact your server, so when I send an update, and let's say if both of us were running a website, which was always available, I can directly talk to you, right? I don't need to go via intermediary. Why when I'm going via Gmail? Think about it. Why am I going via WhatsApp, right? So everywhere I'm going via someone. and whoever I am going via, they are getting too much power. They can just totally understand what is going on between you and me, so we lose privacy. And they can do filter, and they can put spam, and they just have, again, right, too much whatever. So I am saying if everyone had, if my laptop can connect, like both of our laptops are connected to internet, there is no reason my laptop cannot connect to your laptop, other than this weird cloud / weird thing that we have come up with. Right? So basically I'm saying everyone must have a server. Again, if you connect your random Windows machine or random Linux machine to network, you will probably get hacked. So it's not a good idea. So you can argue, say, the way the world is the right way, assuming you are working with, let's say, retarded stuff like Windows and Linux. Unlike if you have something good as like Fasten, then you'll not be living in those random stuff where you'll not get hacked, right? Fasten it's like Nginx will not get hacked, right? Like Django will not get hacked, or Django will not get hacked if you don't install random packages. In our case, we only have to maintain, so the entire security in my case is that one Fasten crate. Right? These are the 10 crates or whatever, one repo that is there. So that is all you have to worry about the security point of view. And that is easy to audit because that's a very finite surface area for you to do. Unlike Linux, right, where you have like you don't know how many thousand GitHub repositories contain C code which is there in your Linux. So you have to kind of audit all of them, and you trust all of them, which is why it is not a good idea to run even without a DevOps managing. Like a 1-year-old Linux server will probably get hacked. So there are so many internet vulnerabilities are coming and so on. So, and all of them will keep on being problematic as long as you're not using Watson. I'm saying the only way to get security is Watson. It's period. That's the only one, right? Like even Python, Java, all of them are getting hacked because the only way you can achieve security is when you can say, my program just can't do anything.
I think basically you need a single piece of software. You don't need multiple software. क्योंकि फिर वो सबको मैनेज करना मुश्किल हो जाएगा. लिनक्स में आई थिंक वही प्रॉब्लम है, राइट? मतलब
नहीं, but you are going to need software by other people. So all the software cannot be written by you. So you still need a software ecosystem where software is getting created. Watson gives you that beautiful thing that no matter what, so basically if you're running any program, if you're running LS on your laptop, that LS has complete access to your credit card and everything, right? Basically anything which is stored on that machine is fully accessible to that LS, right? So and that is true for every single binary and every single library which is installed on your machine, right? So I'm saying, and right now the world is designed with that. Okay, people need software, so obviously they are going to write Python, Java, Go, blah blah, right? Like all of them, and each of them have, again, every single Node program, every single Python has access to a credit card. If you have mistakenly stored a credit card information on that machine, everything. Think about how retarded that is. Just think about it. That's the reality we live in. Every single program by every single developer has access to my credit card. This is like we are saying that with straight face. This is the world we live in. It's retarded, right? I'm saying Watson is the answer, where none of the programs have access to anything other than exactly what you're whitelisted. So that's why I'm saying Linux and POSIX are the problem. You just cannot solve this problem without just killing Linux removing Linux from the picture. Any solution in which Linux is there, or Windows is there, or Mac is there, you will have, as long as you have POSIX, right? So you can argue you can only do it with some virtual machine, right? So and you figure out that virtual machine, virtual box, blah blah blah. But none of the virtual box and virtual machines are yet non-POSIX.
But
they are all
there are access rules, right? मतलब लिनक्स में भी एक्सेस रूल्स तो मैं डाल सकता हूँ ना कि यार ये प्रोग्राम जैसे जो वॉजम करेगा वही सेम चीज़ मैं इसमें भी कर सकता हूँ, राइट?
नहीं, it's like saying कि, how do I say, Watson में you cannot do unless somebody has explicitly given you permission to do something. You are talking about by default any process in Linux can do anything it can do by the user who is running that process, right? That's the default, and you are going to lock down. You are basically telling me you can create some access rule on LS, and then probably all of those MV and CP. Who is going to do that, right? How? So that's what I'm saying. So imagine how many processes are accessible, are running on that machine. And what you're saying is purely theoretical. Yes, it is totally possible for us to completely eliminate poverty from the world. I'm saying that is easier than what you just said, to put access rule or intelligent access rule enough that you can give a random machine to a random non-techie person. That's the goal, right? The goal is not for whether Saurabh can somehow, with a lot of amount of work, secure a machine. We're not talking about that. That is possibly. We are talking about, can we give something to billions of people who will all by default be safe? Right? That's the ask. If you don't have that, then you will tell people, please continue to use SaaS. Because that's the only way. Google Docs is the only way you can secure your docs if you really want to store your credit card in Google Docs. Right? That is safe. Because Google is making sure if it is on your laptop, it is you're screwed. Right? So it's on your laptop, very machine, any process you install. So you can argue the websites, etc., have managed to solve security very well. You're not getting screwed as long as your data is on WhatsApp, unless WhatsApp itself becomes a threat. Right? So not random people are not stealing WhatsApp data. It's only WhatsApp is the threat. So here we are saying that by default, you should be able to say that by default, nothing can do anything other than pure competition. So that's where Watson starts. It says that other than pure competition, you can't do anything. And anything that you can do has been provided by the host. So host is that Fasten program. You can go and look at that Fasten. And the amount of host functions are very, very finite. That's like total number of hosts. All the host function that I have allowed to Watson is probably 500 lines of code, not even 500 lines of code. You can easily go and audit it. And you can add n number of rules there. Okay, you can argue this will become a little bit more complex, obviously, with time, but the complexity will come in those in terms of rules. Okay, right now I allow you to connect to HTTP, but so I don't allow any file access, for example. So I do allow HTTP access, but those HTTP access also you want to put some restrictions. Key, which domains, how many times, how many requests per second, how many, etc., how many bytes, how many kilobytes per second. So all of those things are in your hand. I will give you control over all of them. Similarly, you want to control, let's say there's a single database. This is another thing that I'm really talking about. There has to be kind of like a single database, or maybe 1 or 2 or 3 databases. Not like every single software that I ever run has more than 1 databases, right? That's the kind of like a current state of madness, because you just have no idea. If I tell you, can you write a simple Python program to tell you how many bank transactions you did, or how many mails that you received, or how many WhatsApp you see, or how many Twitter, this thing, it'll be like full project for you, right? And each of them, those tasks would be, I have to find a new API, a new SDK, a new blah blah, and I have to create a author integration. It's just nonsense, right? So these are your data. Think about that. The world is basically telling you, you can't find out your own bank account statement, you can't find out your tax record, you can't find out your tweet, you can't. And we have decided, obviously, this is the world we want to live in, right? You can't find out how many mails you're receiving or how many contacts you have or blah, blah, right? So, like, WhatsApp basically, like, I really want, I have these 50 friends. Can you just show me like, the chats about them? I mean, मैं WhatsApp में जाता हूँ. So, it's just full noise, right? The product manager has decided what do I see on my WhatsApp. I believe this is extremely bad. And I can't really say, okay, only show me my good friends, and I want 11 o'clock onwards, only my good friends come messages, right? Otherwise, I want to see. No, I can't do anything. This is my data
Business
on my
implications.
machine.
Yeah.
And I just can't do anything with that data. And they are like, ha ha ha, guys, right? You are like slaves. We are the owner of this world. You guys are renting. And like recently, for example, Kindle started telling you that you're not buying a book, you're licensing a book, right? Think about, these guys are thinking that they're rulers of the world now. Okay, you're like, what is license? Like, you just have to keep on paying, no buying. Everything will be like owned by them, and we'll be just paying rent every month or every week or whatever, right?
I read somewhere basically सबका वो कम हो रहा है ना, तो सबको चाहिए कि सब्सक्रिप्शन पे डालो सबको, ठीक है, कि पैसा आता रहे हमारा.
And it's both power in terms of money and loss to your own data, and even things like, I just can't do stuff I want to do. Right? Think about basic thing. Okay, like those cases that I mentioned. I want to see so many messages like in my phone messages are actually my credit card and related stuff where I might be missing my payment, right? But I just can't write a program to filter my messages. Like Apple has decided, fuck you, right? Like you're too illiterate. You just like we are smart people. Like very, 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 very dumb people. We just give you something, just take it and just stay quiet, right? Like that's the world that they're creating. So I'm saying we have to own all the software. The software has to run on your server, and it can't be this retarded Mac. It can't be this retarded iPhone. This can't be that retarded Linux. I'm saying all of them are not the right place. Like running software on any of those places, you either don't control that software experience, like Mac Pay and Linux, iPhone Pay. You just don't. The whole app store is managed by Apple. Linux has your, how do I say, super user access, but it basically very like, how do I shoot thing, right? I will give you super user access, but you better be DevOps or you will be hacked to do. Like, it's like so
You
we
should
are
know
so scared
things.
of running a server. Think about
Yeah.
that, right? Like, do you have a server? Go and ask random developers. Other than the server that your company is supposed to have, do you feel like it's just really, 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 or I'm not trying to put a conspiracy, but it is intentional. It is like I'm saying, if the world is such, or system is such that is really helping one class of people who are really rich and really powerful, you can't assume this is by chance, right? They are smart. They're engineering in that direction to make things harder and harder. And so we have to kill the cloud. We have to kill all of these random stuff. So you have to have a server in your house. You have to run. And again, you don't have an option right now. You can either start a Fasten-like activity from scratch or join Fasten. Right? Like there's no other real, how do I say, alternative. So it can't be Linux. You can't make installing software on Linux easier. Right? That's what Linux people have been trying all this while. Docker and Kubernetes is the best we have come up with to solve that problem. As long as you have like a lack of homogeneity, right? Like, how do I say, iPhone, look at iPhone, right? Once a software is installed or one capability is given, everyone has access to it, right? So that is what you want. Once I authenticate, every app I should use should be following the same authentication, right? So retarded that every SaaS company, every app you install, let's say if you look at any open source app, you'll have to really figure out how does authentication work in it, right? If you want to install a web app, Django will have a different way of authentication, Rails will have a different way of authentication, and we'll talk about OAuth and stuff, which just doesn't work unless you use Okta, and I don't know. Even then, it is like, I don't know if you just randomly say, no, I will just install an app and I will integrate with OAuth, right? Try to do that. It just doesn't work, right? If you look at it, virtually everyone just use Gmail. Like, forget, I'll just sign in with Gmail, and that's the only.
Yeah.
So I believe all of these things should be solved, and that's what we are trying to do. So we have a single auth, and that's what we are saying. Imagine, do you think the next 100 years the database should not be owned by you, right? The data that you have, right, it should not be owned by you. Like anybody would say that, yes, of course, I don't want to own the data that belongs to me. And it should be scattered over 200 companies and managed by some random people who will just, the product manager will decide what kind of access they're giving, what kind of views, what can you do with those data, right? You can't just. So I don't think that's the world for next
But you have to
100 years.
simplify things also, basically, because people are very dumb. Okay.
So that's why. But I strongly believe that everyone has to know coding. So, but coding has to be made really easy. So that's another very weird thing to me. Why is coding so hard? Right? To me, it's so weird. Is it really a conspiracy theory that Python guys are like intentionally making things hard? Oh my God, I will make a backend language and you can't do front end. And front end guys are like, we'll create a CSS. I have no idea what JavaScript is or JavaScript. Like, I don't know what is HTML because I'm JavaScript specification writer. I don't know. Is there anything called HTML? I don't know. Maybe like so weird, right? And then React will be obviously you have to React and I don't know what, right? It's mind-numbingly complex, right? It's not like you can't learn programming. The fuck up is everyone can learn programming, but nobody can learn like all of those stuff that I just mentioned, and then you'll have to learn AWS and Docker, and then I don't know what all to be able to deploy one to do app successfully. Like it's a tiny chindi app, full stack app. If you want to deploy successfully with data, with authentication, with backup, with alerting, blah blah. It just you just can't do that unless you have like a 5 people team suddenly, which I believe should have been extremely easy. What is there? Like everything should be a solved problem, right? It's 2025. All of like, did I tell you anything which we couldn't do in 2020 to 2000? We're talking about backup. We're talking about full stack, blah blah, right? Everything that I mentioned, we have not done anything in 25 years, which you can say is new. Oh, we couldn't have done that in 2000, 1999, or even probably earlier than that, right? I don't remember before 19. I don't know before 1998, 99. But nothing we are doing today was impossible there, right? You're just random. Oh, maybe Ajax was not there. Maybe sure. Maybe some APIs were not there. Maybe 3D canvas, etc., were not there. Sure, but look at the majority of the apps that you're interacting with, right? Like just look at everything that you're doing virtually, other than maybe video, which got okay, browser and video magic. Sure, you will allow some innovations, but the bulk majority of Gmail today and Gmail of 2000, Hotmail of even before 2000, there's nothing really fundamentally different. Right? What are you doing new other than there's no other than actually Gmail virtually other than search, a slightly better search. Doesn't offer you anything. You can argue it is faster, but I don't even know you can argue if it is faster. His Hotmail of that time was actually fast enough. I used it. I used the WoW mail and Hotmail and all those random web mails. And I built my own webmail service, and it was fast. It was as fast as today's. I mean, it takes about a second to load a page. It took a second to load a page about 20 years, 25 years back. So we've not gained anything. Our hardware has become so much better. Our internet has become so much better. It should have been like, just we have not gotten anything in return of this massive complexity, right? So it is just pure complex mind memory. Earlier, I was like, all I knew was PHP, and I could build anything. Right? That was the world I lived in, like where I and why not? It was sure. JavaScript, maybe event handling, maybe DOM event handling, some this and that. jQuery was good enough, right? Even before jQuery, actually, there was a time before I was like not even using jQuery. It was good enough. You had to do browser detection. There were a few tricks that you had to know, but it was very little. Like everyone who was in that industry could just learn that like any intern comes or whatever person comes in a few months, you learn all of them. And I don't really. So that's what I'm saying. So we have to make programming really simple, right? If a common man cannot program, they will be slaves to companies who will give them software, because virtually everything is running on software. So it's like saying, oh, I cannot read, right? I cannot read legal documents. I cannot sign a registration, house registration. I can just see you take the money and just, right? So you have to be able to read and write if your life totally depends on it. And open source is the answer. But with open source comes the problem of running untrusted software. So you need good sandbox software, and you need software which all interacts with each other, so that you don't end up managing a whole Kubernetes cluster. You have to install 20 software. That's a big problem. So you are going to have to force. Either you use Java or Python or Node or whatever. The world has to fucking make up their mind. This whole thing is leading to America coming at the end of whether democracy would survive in America or not. And I am basically saying that is because like people blame democracy. I'm saying the democracy is in the democracy of the language of your choice. That is the democracy that has screwed America, and not the, So I'm talking about like becoming like a Hitler of, fasten is the language. Everybody in the world must wear that. Fasten badge and just learn fasten and whatever.
Nice. ठीक है. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I have two recommendations. One is basically interview of Robert Powers. He is basically an acclaimed author, winner of Pulitzer Prize and Stanford professor. So this interview was done by David Perel, and interview is all about writing and storytelling. Very good interview. It is, I think, around 90 minutes or something, but it's a very good interview. Okay. The other thing was there's a movie called Three of Us. It's 2023, I think. A Hindi movie, but it talks
Mm-hmm.
about love, fidelity, complexities of relationships. Basically, it's on there on Netflix, I guess. Okay, but it's a very good movie.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's it. I think we're done for the first. Okay, cool. Uh,